My favorite birthday cakes growing up were ice cream cakes. I'm referring to a 2-layered sponge cake with a layer of ice cream in the middle. Throw on some frosting and I was a very happy kiddo. Today I'm sharing my double-layered strawberry ice cream cake for 2. That's right, this cake is small and tastes like a regular ice cream cake because it is, but it's more than enough to indulge alone or share with a friend or loved one. Homemade vanilla cakes, strawberry ice cream, and a whipped cream frosting. You just might be surprised how easy it is to make this special dessert. Let's check it out. For the vanilla cake ingredients, you'll need butter, oil, granulated sugar, almond extract, vanilla extract, milk, egg, all-purpose flour, salt, and baking powder. The ice cream layer is your favorite brand of strawberry ice cream. The easy whipped cream frosting includes heavy whipping cream, powdered sugar, and almond or vanilla extract. If making your own frosting is not your thing, you can totally use a store-bought canned version. Your choice. Let's start with the cake batter, but first begin preheating your oven to 325 degrees. We're going to grease 2 500 milliliter, which are half-quart baking dishes. You can use butter or cooking spray. If you only have one dish, then you can just use the same dish for both cakes. You want to dust a little bit of flour over the cooking spray, that way it keeps the cakes from sticking. And then just move that flour around, and then just set those aside. Let's combine the white ingredients and sugar. In a small bowl, we're going to add 15 grams or 1 tablespoon of butter. We're going to melt it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. We're going to add 15 milliliters, which is 1 tablespoon of a neutral oil. I'm using avocado, but you could use any kind of vegetable or canola. 50 grams or 4 tablespoons or 1/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. 1/4 of a teaspoon of almond extract to give our cake a little flavor. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, again, flavor. 30 milliliters, which is 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm using whole milk, but you can use whatever you have on hand. And 1 egg that I crack into a separate bowl just so that I don't ruin my other ingredients if it's a bad egg. And I wouldn't know that unless I crack and put it in the bowl. Now you just want to whisk everything together until it's combined. We're going to add the dry ingredients. 60 grams, which is 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and 2 grams or 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And then just stir it all together until smooth. All right, check it out. Pretty smooth. Typical consistency of a cake. Since we're making a double layer cake, I want my cakes to be as close as possible to the same height, each one. So I'm going to measure out 1/4 of a cup of batter for each cake dish. So that's 1/4 cup each. And then at least 1 tablespoon each, probably a little bit more. So that's 2 tablespoons each in addition to the 1/4 cup. You can also eyeball the amount of batter in each dish if you're not concerned about getting close in size. So now we want to try to eliminate, a lot of times you might have a dome on the top of your cake. I haven't really found that to be the case with this recipe, but one way to eliminate that, and I always do this with my cake, is you want to drop it on your counter, and as you do, see there's a bubble there and a bubble there, the bubbles will pop, and when they pop, you're eliminating that extra bit of rise there in the center. Place both dishes in the oven and bake for 20 to 22 minutes or until a toothpick in the center comes out clean or with just a few crumbs. If you only have one dish, bake one of them first, save the batter until this one's baked, and when you remove the cake from this pan, then you can add the batter that's remaining into this dish and bake it separately. So in the oven, 20 to 22 minutes. Cakes are out of the oven, just leave them on a cooling rack in their pans for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes are up, just take your cake and a knife, just run the knife along the inside edge of the cake, and the cake will release. You do that for both. They release fairly easily. If you need to reuse one of these dishes to bake the other one, just clean it out with soap and water, follow the previous steps for greasing, filling, and baking, and then allow both cakes to cool for at least an hour. So 1 hour of completely cooling. Since these cakes are thin and small, you only need about 45 minutes for them to cool completely. Then you're going to wrap each in plastic. One of your plastic sheets you might want to make a little bit larger so that you can wrap the whole thing when the cake is stacked once it's frozen. So just one of them, make a little bit larger. You're going to place these in the freezer for about 30 minutes to an hour or until they are frozen. In the meantime, you can prepare the frosting. I've tried several different types of frostings, but my husband and I prefer a simple whipped cream frosting, but you could use a store-bought can version. It's whatever you like, whatever you have, and what you're most comfortable making. But today, we're going with the whipped cream frosting, so no can today, but it's obviously an option. So to prepare for the whipped cream frosting, you need to place a medium-sized bowl and electric beaters in the freezer for at least 30 minutes to get them very good and cold. That is what's going to help whip your cream more quickly and keep it cold and keep the fluff in it that we want in order to use it as a frosting. Remove the bowl and beaters from the freezer. Notice how cold they are. The cold helps to whip and fluff the cream more quickly. So in your very cold bowl, you're going to add 119 milliliters, which is half a cup of heavy whipping cream. You're going to beat the cream using an electric mixer until soft peaks begin to form. Okay, I'm starting to see a little bit of trailing behind, so that's good enough for the soft peaks. Now we're going to add 30 grams, a quarter of a cup of powdered sugar. Now this is not a very sweet whipped cream. If you want a sweeter version, add another 15 grams or 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar to increase the sweetness. So I also like to add a quarter of a teaspoon of almond extract, you can add vanilla. I like the almond because I like the almond flavor, but also it leaves a white frosting instead of a cream color that vanilla would leave, unless you use a clear vanilla. All right, and just keep whipping until you have a frosting consistency. All right, we're there. So when you leave your beaters behind, then your frosting should stick up. So that's more of a stiff peak frosting. So now we're just gonna place our frosting in the fridge until our cakes are ready to frost. So in the fridge it goes. And it will keep in the fridge for a few hours. You don't want to really make this too far in advance, say a day or two before, because it starts to deflate. So while we've just made the homemade version, if you choose to use commercial frosting, simply place half the can of frosting in a small bowl, whip it up with an electric mixer to make it light and fluffy. If you want to add some flair to it, you can leave it, of course, as is. You could add a little bit of almond extract or vanilla extract or even some food coloring, and then whip it until it's smooth. Set it aside until you're ready to frost the cake. That's it. So you have choices. In the directions below, I tell you how to use the whipped frosting from the can, in addition, of course, with the homemade version. Just before assembling the cakes, you want to scoop 1 1/3 cups of your favorite strawberry ice cream into a bowl. You're going to sit it on the counter for about 15 minutes until it becomes a little bit soft. It needs to be soft enough to spread on the cake, but firm enough to hold its shape. Once the ice cream has softened, just go ahead and give it a quick stir just so you can make sure it's just all evenly cold and smooth. Okay, that's been about 15 minutes and that's what it looks like. It's not melted, but still firm. Go ahead and remove your cakes from the freezer. Open up the one that has the larger wrap. Go ahead and place it face down so that you have a smooth top on which to place your ice cream. And basically, you're just going to add your ice cream to the top of the cake. You can use a spoon, you could use a frosting knife. Ideally, you want enough ice cream so it's about the same thickness as each of the cakes. Okay, that might be enough. So you might need just 1 1/4 cups. Probably just depends on the size of your cake, but you can gauge as you're frosting the cake how much ice cream that you really want. So it's gonna be between 1 1/4 and 1 1/3 cup. Okay, and then just sort of smooth it out. Okay, I think that's probably enough ice cream for me. Unwrap the other cake layer, and you're just gonna place it top side up. You can kind of go around and sort of clean up that ice cream around so it fills the cake edge completely. You want to do this fairly quickly because you don't want your ice cream to melt any more than it already has. All right, check that out. That's like just a big cookie, really, ice cream cookie. All right, so place it back on your plastic, go ahead and just wrap it up snugly so it keeps the cakes from moving on you, because it should be straight up and down. We're going to place this back in the freezer just to make sure that it freezes together before we add the frosting. Back in the freezer for about an hour. After at least your minimum of an hour, you can leave these cakes in overnight, a couple of days, so you can make this well ahead of time. Go ahead and wrap them. And since they're in plastic and they're frozen, they'll just come right out of the plastic. Okay, put the cake on a serving plate. In my case, it's just a small plate. And I put my plate in the freezer for a few minutes just so that the plate would be cold for the cake. All right, and then we're just gonna frost. So you wanna take your whipped cream out and then just start adding it to your cake. Top and sides. You could put a little bit of wax paper under the edges so that if you had any frosting on your plate, it's gonna go on the wax paper instead of the plate. And then you just remove the wax paper when you're done. You frost this cake like you would any other cake. All right, so there you are. In fact, we've got plenty of frosting. You don't need any more than that. All right, so I'm actually just gonna leave the wax paper on it for now, and I'm gonna place this back in the freezer until this is frozen, and then once it's frozen, I'll cover it up with plastic, but right now it's wet, so we don't want it to get on the plastic. We're just gonna freeze it exactly like this. So freeze for at least an hour, cover it in plastic, and then you're good until you're ready to eat it. Once your cake is frozen, you can simply remove the wax paper and it keeps your plate pretty clean. The wax paper should, for the most part, just slide right out. Now that the frosting is frozen, check that out. It's sort of rustic, homemade, right? So when you're serving it, you can simply just add a strawberry to the top. That's it. It's a very simple, beautiful little cake. If you don't like that idea, you could always add a scoop of strawberries that you've chopped and just give it a different look or a different feel. I like the simple strawberry on top. I think it looks really pretty. And then when we cut it, we'll just put these on the sides so that we know for sure that it's strawberry and that we get that extra strawberry taste to the cake. Let's cut a slice out and see what we have here. Now, technically this is a two-person cake, so you probably don't even need a serving plate. You can just use a fork and dig in, right? I'm gonna take the strawberry off, but I kind of just want to let you see what it looks like. And notice it's been frozen, so it's obviously gonna be a little resistance when you cut into it, but not that much. We're just gonna look at a little piece here. Ooh, check that out. Little piece of cake, but look at that, how pretty it is. I love that you've got the cake layers are the same balanced width. The ice cream is a nice thick enough width there that you're gonna definitely taste it. Check out the frosting on the top and the sides. That's a good amount of frosting for this little cake here. We will stick this on a plate now. Put a strawberry back on there. And check this out. Let's add a little bit of strawberries to our cake. Just makes it very strawberry-esque for serving. So check the inside there. I love that the frosting is bright white. It's very pretty against the color of the strawberry and the cake layers and the ice cream layer in the cake. It's also not too thick on a cake, and since this is an ice cream cake, all the layers are firm when you cut into them, but they are not hard. Each layer can be cut with a fork. And there you are. A nice big bite cutting with a fork. Well, it's tasting time. Get a little bit of the cake, the frosting, and the ice cream here. I like the equal balance between the layers. I get a nice taste of strawberry from the ice cream, and it's just perfect because even with the white cake and the frosting, that ice cream really comes through, and it tastes like a strawberry shortcake. It's really what it tastes like. Even though we don't have any strawberry in the cake or the frosting, you don't need it. The cake has a pleasing firm crumb texture, and it contrasts to the smooth and creamy ice cream. Since the cake is simple in flavor, it allows the ice cream to shine. And I love the soft, smooth, white frosting. It balances out the sweetness of both the cake and the ice cream. And since it's whipped cream, it acts like another layer of ice cream. It's smooth and just as cold as the ice cream. It melts in your mouth just like ice cream too. So we find it to be the best frosting for an ice cream cake. It gives off an ice cream illusion on the cake exterior. This is a very hearty 2-person dessert, but you can easily share it with a third or save some for later. Sometimes I want a good yet simple dessert that doesn't take up a lot of space in my fridge or freezer, or one that doesn't take days to consume. If you find yourself thinking the same, give this mini cake a try. Indulge with your loved one, a friend, or by yourself. I'll never tell. It's our little secret. Thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing. Until next time, indulge in a mini dessert like this strawberry ice cream cake for 2 or 1 and go bake the world.